increase its oil production by 400,000 barrels a day so that we can fully replace the 130,000 barrels of overseas oil from foreign dictatorships we're bringing in. And within 5 years, we will end dictator oil imports to Canada altogether. I will ban all my ministers from any involvement in the World Economic Forum.
Populism has finally come to Canada. The great Pierre Poilievre has been elected as the new leader of the Conservative Party and promises to crush soy boy Justin Trudeau. We're going to take a look at the recent election for party leadership. We're going to see how it's actually a wonderful extension of the Freedom Convoy movement several months back. And make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video when we'll discover why populism is the wave of the future in the Great White North. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, helping to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times, increasingly populist times, of course. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You know what? We're just going to dive right in here today. Many of you know we have an Insiders Club where we have our own social media platform that hundreds of patriots share, and we have a live Q&A every week. And one of our members, Ryan, encouraged me to do a video on the huge win for populism that happened a few days back in the great nation of Canada. And I told Ryan, absolutely, you got it, my friend. It's my honor. And I'd be remiss not to mention that you too can join our Insiders Club and help my video content just like Ryan simply by clicking on the link below. The Conservative Party of Canada just elected their new leader. He's a fellow by the name of Pierre Poilievre. Poilievre is a very seasoned, savvy politician who is widely recognized as a mainstream politician who has enthusiastically embraced the rising populist movement, awakening all throughout the world. Poilievre was a huge supporter of Canada's Freedom Convoy, and here's just a sample of how sharp this guy is.
Twice, but 13 times did this public safety minister claim the police told them to suspend people's civil liberties with the Emergencies Act. Not only did the cops say that's not true, but yesterday, two of his fellow ministers, including the Deputy Prime Minister, said it's not true. And today, the Prime Minister refused to say that his public safety minister had acted honorably. If his fellow ministers don't think he is honorable and truthful, why is he still in cabinet?
Honorable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, while the member opposite concerns himself supposedly with the freedom of Canadians to protest illegally, we're going to continue to stand with Canadians who had their lives disrupted by the illegal blockades and protesters who took such lengths to try and shut down our economy over the month of February. We have continued to work with police officers, with services, with local authorities to give them the tools we needed, and ultimately chose to invoke the Emergencies Act to keep Canadians safe and to put an end to these barricades.
Disrupting people's lives. This is a Prime Minister who disrupted the lives of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people because of a personal medical decision. Everything this government has been saying about our truckers has been false from the very beginning, starting with the claim that they would spread a virus even though they're in a truck all alone all day long, and ending with the recent claim that the police had asked for the Emergencies Act. Now that the government has admitted that the public safety minister stated falsehoods, will the Prime Minister do the honorable thing and fire him?
Now, as you can see, he's incredibly well-spoken. He's very polished, very young, interestingly, and he's single-handedly transforming Canada's Conservative Party into their own version of the Patriot Party. And his amazing style of what we might call parliamentary populism is taking the Tories by storm. In their leadership election a few days back to replace Aaron O'Toole, the former leader of the Tories, or the Conservative Party, Poilievre absolutely crushed it in the vote. Get this. He won in the first round Competing against several other candidates vying for the leadership position, he won an astonishing 68% of the vote. 7 out of 10 conservatives voted for this bona fide populist. It gets even better. Poilievre actually finished first in all but 8 of Canada's 338 electoral districts. Again, it simply could not be a more dominating and decisive win. It's very, very clear where Canadian conservatives want to go. They want nothing more to do with milquetoast conservatism. You know, a party that's just skim liberalism, right? Liberal light, as it were. They want a real alternative to the radically woke, increasingly technocratic, managerial, globalist elite that have been running Ottawa these last several years. Now, to say the least, this is a huge development. Up until now, Canadian populism was represented by the much smaller party known as the People's Party of Canada, led by Maxime Bernier. They were also, of course, huge supporters of the Freedom Convoy. They've been making huge gains of late, but they're still a relatively small party. What's happening here with the ascent of Poilievre is now the mainstream Conservative Party, in effect, their Republican Party. They're now becoming more and more like the People's Party. It's certainly moving in that direction. Take a look at this report from Global News and see if you can catch some political themes that sound oh so familiar for any ultra-MAGA supporter.
Tonight begins the journey to replace an old government that costs you more and delivers you less with a new government that puts you first.
Among the 338 ridings in the country, Pierre Poilievre won all but 8. He won the support of red Tories, libertarians, free marketers, social conservatives. Every faction in his party came to his flag.
Now, today, we are one party serving one country.
He won with a campaign that raged against what he called the country's elites. Elites at the Bank of Canada, in the mainstream media, in public health labs, but most of all, in the Trudeau government.
I think the Liberals are probably a little worried. This is a united conservative movement, and it's a movement that has obviously grown. Poilievre has done a very good job of bringing in new people to the party.
We will restore Canada's promise in a country where it doesn't matter who you love, or if your name is Smith or Singh, Martin or Mohammed, Chang or Charles.
And while Prime Minister Justin Trudeau did call Poilievre Saturday night to congratulate him, Liberals were quick to say Poilievre is not a uniter, but a polarizing divider.
Mr. Poilievre chooses to take a different approach, or to be a divisive, polarizing figure and try and paralyze Parliament. We don't think Canadians will be impressed or warm to that approach.
Liberals say Poilievre's support for last winter's Freedom Convoy in Ottawa is a flaw. But Poilievre's supporters say no, that's not a bug. It's a feature.
I think with Pierre, what you see is what you get. There were a lot of Canadians that supported the convoy, and if not specifically the convoy, the ideals that what they espoused in terms of being against lockdowns.
So there you go. You can hear those common populist themes. It's the people versus the elite political class. It's truckers versus technocrats. It's Canada first versus Canada last. This is a stunning development in a party that's thus far been seen as being in a kind of political paralysis. That's certainly why Max Bernier left the Tories to form his own party, the People's Party. Now, this movement towards the populist right is something that we've been seeing for some time now. It started under the Conservatives, under the previous leadership of Aaron O'Toole, and some pundits recognize that he was already beginning to move the party to a much more blue-collar conservative constituency, just like Trump did with the Republicans and Boris Johnson at least began to do with the British Conservative Party before he messed that up. O'Toole was arguing more for economic protectionist policies such as unemployment insurance and disability payments that go disproportionately to working class voters. In addition, O'Toole pledged to give Quebec more control over immigration to the province, and he began to openly push back against more woke issues. And what that meant is that O'Toole was moving the Conservative Party more left on economic issues, but more right on cultural issues. And that's what British political scholar Matthew Goodwin calls the political sweet spot. And this is why the populist right has been able to win far more than the populist left in the States and in Europe. The populist right has been able to pivot left on economics, all the while the populist left has not been able to pivot right on culture. And that way, the populist right is amassing a far larger constituency than the populist left. And so now with Pierre Poilievre, the movement towards the populist right is, in a sense, complete. He's angering all the right people, right? The legacy media absolutely hates him. They're calling him all the same things they call Trump or Salvini in Italy or Marine Le Pen in France or Orban in Hungary. And what this new Conservative Party really represents, along with the massive and amazing Freedom Convoy some months back, when all is said and done, what it all represents is the blossoming, the harvest, as it were, of the seeds of Canadian populism that have been sown for years now. Now, we've been following that trajectory for some time now on this channel. Take a look at some of these headlines. For example, this one is from January of last year, okay? Canada's right-wing extremism problem. Now, of course, keep in mind, these are all articles that are coming from far-left activists disguised as journalists, right? But nevertheless, they're all clearly panicking over what they were seeing in terms of the rise of Canadian populism. This was a couple of years before the Freedom Convoy movement. Here's another one. Canada is not immune to Trumpism. And the tagline is, there is ample evidence that the buds of authoritarianism are already germinating here. Canadians should not be complacent. Or this one from April of that year, 2021. Canada needs to brace itself for the next chapter of far-right extremism. And all these articles are seeing the same thing. Canada has been for some time now seeing a surge in populist patriotic activity. There was even a UK study back in 2020, okay, a study of so-called far-right extremist websites and web communities. They examined over 6,000 of them. And these UK researchers were shocked to find that Canadians were the most frequent visitors and contributors to those sites, positive contributors, of course. And so that was just another indicator that patriot sentiments were booming throughout Canada, but they had no way of politically expressing themselves. These were the precursors of the Freedom Convoy back in January, February, right? And now we're seeing the embracing of that very populism by the mainline Conservative Party. Again, we have lots of wonderful Canadian members in our Insiders Club. And, you know, the questions I've been getting over the last few years has always been, where's our populist movement, right? We see these patriot movements popping up all over the States and Europe and Latin America. When is this going to come to Canada? Well, these 9 months have been the answer to those longings. First, the people rose up in the winter, and now the politics are realigning in the summer. Canada looks like it's finally getting its populist moment, and it is absolutely wonderful to see. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You will definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on how the corrupt FBI and the DOJ got exposed on live TV. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.